Shouting hello into the void, friends. This is Rye back with episode 2 of my podcast, Stream of Consciousness, where I talk about what's on my mind, throw it out into the void of the internet, and hope the internet reaches back. Guys, this is episode 2. I'm so excited. We're going to try and make it to 30 minutes today, okay? I have a list of things I want to talk about. Two major ones, which is going to be Jane Austen's Emma, specifically the movie adaptations, and the idea of ghosts and the paranormal. I'm going to start with ghosts because that's been on my mind the most. So, what's your guys' thoughts on ghosts? Are they real? Are they not real? Are they real in the way that we think they are? Are they real, but probably not as we perceive them? My particular belief is, we talked about the law of the conservation of matter, right? Last episode, shout out to M for telling me which law it was, which is energy can neither be created nor destroyed. So, our energy has to go somewhere, right? I fully believe that there is another plane of existence where sometimes our energy lingers a little bit longer. Now, I don't think that ghosts exist in the way that we perceive them to exist. I don't think it's, ooh. I think it's people who had strong sentimental attachments, maybe lingering a little bit longer on this plane of existence than maybe normally is expected. Now, next question. Has anyone ever had a ghost encounter? Answer, I have. Only one. And I fully believe to my bones that this was a ghost. Okay, so picture this. Close your eyes. If you're driving, close your eyes, swerve off the road. This is important. So, my grandparents, for most of my life, had a cabin in the woods just outside of town where I live in the Midwest. And they had built it in, I don't know, I don't want to say the 90s or the 2000s, but they built it, right? They had acres of land. It was this gorgeous, log house. I loved it so much. And so when I was younger, I would stay over there a lot because I would love to go out there and read like a loser. They had a pool, you could swim. They had trails, you could walk down to the edge of their property. It was amazing. They've since sold it, and I miss that house every goddamn day of my life. I loved that house so much. Regardless, so they had a spare room on the first floor for me. It was their quote unquote spare bedroom, but we called it my bedroom. Just had a bed, one of those big box TVs with the VCR attachment in the bottom of it. Loved it. And so I would stay up much later than they would. They were always typically early risers. Okay, so they would be up at 5 or 6 a.m. My grandpa he laid brick for 30 to 40 years, so he was always up with the sun. My grandma was always just an early riser. I stayed up later, so I would be up until about the time that they would get up for the day, and then I would just sleep until the afternoon. So there was one night that I don't remember if it was storming or not, but I remember I was I want to say 13 to 14. I could have been younger, I could have been older, don't quote me on this. I have a shit memory. I have the memory of a goldfish. Thanks, mental illness. Anyway, so it was I want to say 1 or 2 in the morning. I'm staying up late. I have my overhead light off because it was too bright, so I have the lamp in the corner on, and I'm reading, right? All of a sudden, because it's a log cabin, shit's gonna be faulty, the lamp goes out. Now, I am terrified of the dark, so as soon as the lights go out, I squeeze my eyes shut, and I'm trying to fumble around for my phone, and can't find it. And so I open my eyes to see if I can adjust to the darkness and find my phone, and I look over to my left, and there is a girl. Guys, I shit you not. There is a girl. She's very pale. About 5 or 6, I want to say. I remember this specifically, she had pigtails and an overall dress on. And she was just standing there looking at me. and I freaked the fuck out, and I closed my eyes and I fumbled for my phone, and I was able to get my flashlight on, and when I went to go, shine it to my left, there was nothing there. Because of course there wasn't, because it was a fucking ghost. And it, to this day, kind of makes my my skin goosebump a little bit, you know what I mean? So I don't know who the fuck that was. She was cool. She just like observing. And yeah, that is the only ghost encounter I've ever had. Well, okay, I guess this is another one. So my childhood home, we have been in since 2006. I say we, I moved out now, but my family still lives there. Since 2006, we haven't done a lot of maintenance, so it's an older house. It kind of creaks and whatever. But sometimes when I was younger and my sisters and I were younger, you would hear just kind of like creaks in the hallway or on the steps that kind of sounded like footsteps. And so my goal wasn't to scare them, but to sort of explain it to them. And I was like, oh, it's the white dressed angel, because we had an angel tree topper that we'd put on our Christmas tree every year for Christmas. So I'd say, oh, that's the white dressed angel, watching over us and stuff. And then I think I switched it to the white dressed ghost. But the white dressed angel we used to explain away all of our creaks and moans in our house. And they still talk about it, so I guess it must have stuck for them. But yeah, I was also segue, demons, angels and demons. Actually, kind of a good segue. Go me. Anyway, do you guys believe in angels and demons? If so, do we think that they exist in the same form that we intentionally believe? Y'all have seen biblically accurate angels, right? Scary as fuck, but also kind of cool, question mark. When I was a kid, I remember talking to my dad. I was raised Christian, so super religious, non-denominational Christian. What's up? Reaching out to all my other non-denominational Christian raised peeps. But I had a huge fear of like demons and possession when I was younger, because of course I did, along with my fear of the dark. So I was talking to my dad as I got a little bit older, and I was like kind of questioning my faith a little bit. And I was like, yeah, I don't know, like if God's real or whatever. And he's like, yeah, I don't know either. And I was like, yeah, like angels and demons kind of seem like a weird thing to believe in, And like he full deadpan, I shit you not, is like, oh, demons are real. And I was like, what? And I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, and he's stone-faced, dude. Guys, stone-fucking-faced, goes like, I don't want to talk about it. And I was like, what the fuck do you mean you don't want to talk about it? You had an experience that showed the demons were real and you don't want to talk about it? Like, sure, it's probably traumatic for you, but like, come on, dude. Like, get over, like, brother, you better be informing me. Also, I got a little loud there. I'm so sorry. But also I don't care. I got passionate. Anyway, ghosts, fully believe that they are real. If you guys have had any ghost encounters, or you think that you've had ghost encounters, please tell me, either in these comments or hop in my Twitch when I'm live. Because that stuff kind of always has fascinated me. Like I guess not fascinated, I used to be terrified of it, but now that I'm older, I'm 24, the ripe old age of 24, it just kind of fascinates me, the idea of a world beyond our own that we can't see. So yeah, that's my take on ghosts. I love a good ghost story. Love me some BuzzFeed Supernatural Unsolved. Love me some ghost hunting. Garrett Watts, if you've ever watched him on YouTube, he ghost hunts. He's amazing and I love him. Yeah, that's my thoughts on ghosts. So yeah, I don't know why I've been thinking about ghosts recently. Maybe it has to go hand in hand along with the passage of time that we talked about last episode, which, by the way, guys, I know this is not a lot of views, so if you're gonna make fun of me, stop listening. But like 25 views in 24 hours is like the most views that I've gotten on a VOD, a stream or whatever, and it just fills my heart with joy that people are like genuinely enjoying this. Like my sisters both listen to it and we're like, hey, we like genuinely enjoy this, and if you know them, you know that they bully me relentlessly, so them giving me a genuine compliment is actually insane. I'm just kidding, Reagan and Emmy, I love you. Okay, segue, not so segue, Emma by Jane Austen. Fantastic. I have yet to read the book. I own it, which I know is garbage because I literally spent like half of my time last week talking about a book I'm reading, but I grew up watching the 1996 version with Gwyneth Paltrow. My mom loved it. My mom was a sucker for romance, and I just have such fond memories of that movie. The first time we watched it, she would like pause it and have to explain what was happening because they talk in Old English. Like they talk in the English that they use in the book, right? And I just loved it. So, synopsis for people that don't know, Emma is about this woman named, you guessed it, Emma, and her governess or nanny is getting married, and she made the match herself. So she's kind of proud of that, right? She lives with her dad, who's kind of sickly and is very much like, Emma, you'll never leave me, right? Like your sister did when she got married, and now that your governess has left. And Emma's like, oh no, absolutely not. Like, there's no way. I like making matches. I don't want to make a match for myself. And so she meets this girl named Harriet, I think is her name. Me versus saying I love this movie and then not remembering characters' names. And she's poor, right? Emma's very wealthy. I mean, Emma is extremely wealthy. So she actually does have the luxury of like not getting married if she doesn't want to. So she meets this girl Harriet. She doesn't know who her parents are, so like lower class, and Emma's like, I'm gonna be friends with her, whether that's because she thinks it would be good charity or otherwise I have yet to determine, but becomes friends with Harriet. And Harriet's like, oh my gosh, like when I was younger, I was staying with this family of farmers, and like their son was like so nice to me, Robert Martin. He's like, I don't know, he was really sweet and dreamy and whatever. And Emma's like, you can do better. And so Harriet, who is pretty much excited to have a friend and like doesn't really know who she is herself, goes along with whatever Emma says. So she's like, oh, of course, Robert Martin, ew, gross, yuck. And Emma is like, you know who you should go after? The town pastor, Mr. Elton. And Harriet's like, Mr. Elton? And Emma's like, yeah, Mr. Elton. And so Harriet is like immediately like, well, of course, I love him. He's the best. And so Emma tries to like set stuff up between Elton and Harriet. And eventually you find out that the reason that Elton was going along with it is because he was in love with Emma, who does not reciprocate and is pretty much like, why the fuck would I be into Harriet if you're around, pretty much. So he's kind of a dick, and then blows both of them off, and Harriet gets her heart broken, and it's really sad. And then, gosh, what happens next? Throughout the movie, we're introduced to Emma's friend, Mr. Knightley, I think is his name. He grew up with Emma. They're very close. He comes over to their house often and pretty much keeps Emma in check when her ego gets too inflated, which, boo that it's a man doing that, like, but yay that there is someone there to keep her ego in check, because she thinks she's amazing because she's setting up all these matches, right? Stay with me, guys. Stay with me. So eventually we find out that through some circumstances, whatever, a lot of stuff happens in between this. I'm giving you guys the bare bones description. Harriet is like, I'm in love with Mr. Knightley. And then Emma's like, I don't know how I feel about that. And then she realizes that she's in love with him. And then Knightley's also in love with her, and they get together. And then Harriet ends up, getting a brain and figuring out that she has been in love with the farmer this whole time, and they get married. And it's this cute thing, right? Okay. Back to the 1996 version with Gwyneth Paltrow. I love that movie, and I am a big stickler to like the original movies that I see. Any remakes, like reboots, whatever, I will always criticize harshly against the original material that I've seen. So when Emma came out with Anya Taylor-Joy in 2020, I was like, I'm not going to watch this. This looks fucking stupid. Like, this isn't going to give me all of the same, like, warm, fuzzy feelings that Emma does, that I watched with my mom, whatever. There's also mom trauma there, unlocking that in a later podcast episode, regardless. So I was crocheting the other night, and I was looking for something to watch because I'm in between shows right now. Every show that I'm watching currently, I'm having to watch with Devin. So we're watching Gravity Falls, me for the first time, him rewatching with me. I'm watching Rick and Morty for the first time, him watching it, rewatching it with me. And I was like, you know, like, I just want something comfy. Like, I don't want like a thriller. I want something where I know that I'm going to, like, I know the plot, right? It's the same reason we watch shows that we love so much, is we don't want something unknown. We want something comfortable that we already can anticipate what's happening next, right? So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna give Emma a shot with Anya Taylor-Joy. Because, like, I know the plot, even if they change it a little bit. Like, I know it's not the same, but whatever. And, oh, hard pivot. I am an Anya Taylor-Joy stan. I think I have watched her entire discography. Queen's Gambit, fantastic. Split, fantastic. The Menu, okay, but I still watched it. Thoroughbreds, one of my favorite movies of all time. It is so weird. Watch it. I love it. And so it was weird for me to kind of, like, not want to watch it, because not because she was in it, but like, I watch everything that she's in, or I try to. So I was very at odds, but I rented it the other day and I watched it and I was pleasantly surprised. I thought it was so fun. It was so vibrant. It was different than the original movie that I watched, the 1996 version. When I say the original, that's what I mean. But I had such a good time watching it, and I was like, wow, I am pleasantly surprised. And so after I finished it, I was in a mood, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to rent the 1996 version too. And watch that. And I was like, yeah, Gwyneth Paltrow, Ewan McGregor, I am in love with him. Oh my God, give me a chance. Obi-Wan, please, I am begging. Regardless, I rented Emma 1996 version, and guys, I think I like the 2020 version better. And I don't know how to feel. Like, nostalgia's a hell of a drug, I guess. But, like, you think that I would still be like, oh, I like this movie, yeah. I had, like, no sentimental attachment to it at all. And I was like, this movie's kind of mid. And I was just sitting there shocked. Because I was like, never do I ever like new renditions of movies that I grew up with. Ever. Like, I guess that's not true. If I'm able to separate the two movies or the two mediums, do you get what I'm saying? So, like, for example, Disney's on, like, a bunch of live action kicks right now, which, like, fucking whatever, I guess. Make more money, King. Pop off, Mickey, I guess. But the example I'm thinking of is the Beauty and the Beast original animated film and the remake of Beauty and the Beast with Emma Watson. Both films, I think, are fantastic, like, on their own. If you don't compare the two and treat each movie as its own separate medium, its own separate story, and try and take yourself out of comparing it to, like, one you grew up with, or say you prefer animation over live action or vice versa. Both movies, I think, are objectively good and fun. However, with Emma, because I had this nostalgic factor with, sprinkled on top with some mom trauma, I was, like, holding fast. I was like, I don't want to watch anything else with, like, this is my rendition of Emma, and I will not part from that. But I did, and I loved Anya Taylor-Joy as Emma, and I am so pleasantly surprised. And honestly, guys, I'm gonna rent it again. I rented it like 2 days ago. I'm gonna rent it again because it was so fun, and I had such a good time. Yeah, I am sitting flabbergasted, if you will, in my bedroom right now, thinking about it, because I am the type of person that very much If I can't separate two mediums together, the one I grew up with, I am a nostalgia junkie, I guess. Like, that is my tried and true ride or die. And that was not the case this time. So yeah, that's what's been happening with me recently. Do you guys have any movies or TV shows like that? Are there a lot of TV shows that are getting reboots? I don't think that there are, actually. I'm trying to think of one and I can't, like, aside from like animated shows, like the one that comes to my mind is like Strawberry Shortcake, right? She has gone through so many iterations. Polly Pocket is another one that has gone through so many iterations. But like adult TV shows, I guess Doctor Who would be one, but that's not a reboot, more of a continuation. Regardless, do you guys have movies or TV shows like that where you're like, you know what, this version from this time period is the best one, and any renditions, remakes, reboots, whatever, cannot compare to this? I want to know. Please tell me. I would love to hear it. Yeah, I think that's about all I've got for this week. I had something else that I wanted to talk about movie related, but I don't remember. Oh, I was talking about Ewan McGregor in the 1996 version of Emma. He plays kind of an asshole, but I'm in love with him. And then I started talking about Obi-Wan because he plays Obi-Wan in Star Wars. Guys, can we stop shitting on the prequels? It's 2024. Can we get over our hatred for the prequels, please? Because I love them. I watched the prequels first growing up, and Qui-Gon, Liam Neeson, hi, hello, love him. Sad he died in the first movie. Spoiler alert if you haven't watched the prequels. So sorry. But like, they're so fun. Hayden Christensen, hot. Natalie Portman, hot. Like, what is there to dislike? Like, you know what I mean? I guess this is exactly proving my point of the idea of renditions or add-ons, or I guess that would count as a sequel or a prequel, are not as good as the original, because people, guys, look at me circling it back a fucking round. Guys, I have a degree, okay, in English. All right? And me losing my train of thought. But so many people loved the first three because they grew up with them, that when the prequels came out, they were like, these are garbage. But I feel like we're at a time now, especially, like, sure, they've gotten more love in recent years, but like, I want like full love. You know what I mean? As the years have gone on, people are like, hey, the prequels, like, were kind of bad, right? Like, but if they're their own standalone prequel, like, trilogy, right? I think that they're so fun. And also, side note, can we, like, with movies and TV shows, when we say that something is, like, good, can we just mean that it's fun? Like, I don't mean, like, cinematically beautiful. The soundtrack was absolutely, like, evoking of all of these deep, complex emotions and the themes and whatever. Coming from a fucking English major, can we love a movie, and can a movie be good just because it's fun? Sure, it's stupid. Sure. Is it the most, like, wonderfully made, produced film out there? No. But I'm not a film buff. If I want to enjoy Jar Jar Binks in the Star Wars prequel trilogy, and that makes the movies good for me, fuck you for telling me otherwise. Like, let people like what they like, okay? Don't get on my ass about, oh, well, the CGI is so terrible. So what? So what? I thought the movie was good because I thought the movie was fun. And honestly, I feel like that's all that matters. Like, if you are having fun watching a movie, a TV show, listening to music, like, who cares if it's, like, art is subjective, okay? I'm going on a rant now, so you guys better be seated, okay? Art is subjective, okay? So, like, holding every single piece of media, art, literature, whatever, to the same standard, I feel like is fucking stupid. Because you know what? I bet that there is someone here on this planet who is a die-hard fan and loves it. You want to know the perfect example of that? The cult following for the movie The Room. Now, I have not seen The Room, but me, like everybody else that is chronically online, has seen clips of The Room. And is that movie terrible? Like, okay, let me rewind. Is that movie like beautifully shot? No. Are the actors in the movie like good at pretending that they are the characters they're portraying? No. Is it a good movie because people have fun? Abso-fucking-lutely it is. Like, hello? And you know what movie that is for me? Romeo and Juliet. That's right, the animated film Romeo and Juliet, starring Emily Blunt and Taron Egerton. Hello? Romeo? He's hot. Sorry, not sorry, gonna say it. But is that movie good? Like, cinematically good? Probably not. Is the animation rough in some parts? Probably yes. But is it a damn good movie and one of my all-time favorites? You bet your ass it is. And will I watch it probably at least 2 or 3 times every couple of months? Absolutely. Another movie that I feel strongly about this with is Pitch Perfect, the original Pitch Perfect. I watch that movie so often. That movie is amazing. It is so good. Because I have fun watching it. You know what I mean? Like let's stop shitting on people for liking quote unquote bad, not critically acclaimed whatever movies. Like, it's good because I have fun and it is good to me. Like, leave me alone. Okay, rant is over. You guys can stand up. Okay. That, I think, will actually round out this week. I think what I'm going to start doing with this podcast, reaching 30 minutes, which we're so close to, hell yeah. I think I'm going to release it on Fridays and then stream Saturdays and Sundays on Twitch so that I have like a little piece of content out every day of the weekend for people if they are so inclined. I also want to maybe look into posting stuff on Spotify and like what you have to go through for that. And my sister edited a portion of my podcast with like little pictures and stuff, and I thought it was so fucking hilarious. So I'm gonna see if she wants to start doing that for every episode now, at least on YouTube. So yeah, I think that is all I have for you this week. As always, please leave in the comments what you would like me to talk about. If you have a specific interest or, I don't know, book, song, musical. Oh, y'all are not ready for my musical episodes. I'm going to tell you what. I am a theater kid. Surprise! I have a theater fucking tattoo, bitch. I have the flower from Hadestown. If y'all know Hadestown, hey, that musical, my fucking favorite. Regardless. I want to know what people want to talk about. What my goal eventually is to have people on this podcast bringing an interest that they are interested in and then talking to me about it. So, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think me rambling. That's going to do it for this week. Thank you so much for tuning in. And I hope to see you guys next week with the next episode of the podcast. Bye.